Have you ever compared your life to that of great figures like Carl Jung, Einstein, or Mandela, and felt small? These people's lives seem full of incredible feats, great achievements, and a clear purpose. Sometimes this makes our lives seem small or unimportant. But what we often forget is that the value of a life is not just in great achievements or fame. The real meaning lies in the little things we do every day, the struggles we face inside, and the desire to get to know ourselves better and grow as people. Like them, we can also find a path with meaning. This path will be unique to each of us, shaped by the challenges we face, the mistakes we correct, and the moments when, even in fear, we choose to move forward. In many of his books, Carl Jung talked about the importance of finding meaning and getting to know yourself better. For him, the purpose of life is not about what you achieve, but about who you are and how you choose to act. Jung believed that the human being is made up of the psyche, which includes both what we know about ourselves, the conscious part, and what we don't realize or understand, the unconscious part. At the center of our consciousness is the ego, which is the part of us that knows who we are and how we see ourselves. But there is much more beyond the ego, things we don't know or realize. In the depths of our unconscious, where the things we don't understand or avoid are kept, there is something that Jung called the shadow, or our dark side. For Jung, it is in this hidden side of ourselves that we can find clues to understanding our purpose in life. This is because each person's purpose is not something that fits everyone, but something unique that only makes sense to you. Jung was a Swiss physician, psychiatrist, and psychoanalyst who created his own line of study called analytical psychology. His way of thinking and working became known as Jungian psychology. He wrote many important books, such as The Psychology of the Unconscious, Man and His Symbols, Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, Modern Man in Search of a Soul, The Psychology of Transference and Memories, Dreams, Reflections. In this video, we will learn the steps that Jung suggested to discover how our most hidden side, called the dark side, can help us find our true purpose in life. Jung said something very important. Things will become clear to you only when you look inside yourself. Whoever looks outside dreams. Those who look within awaken. This means that each person has a unique purpose and meaning in life, which is different for everyone. But in order to understand your own purpose, you first need to really know yourself. Many people think they already know themselves well. Perhaps you think you know everything about your personality, your strengths, your weaknesses, and what you want. Because of this, you may want to go straight for your purpose. However, Jung taught that in order to truly know yourself, you need to go through a process called self-realization. He believed that we all have two parts, a conscious part, which is what we know about ourselves, and an unconscious part, which is everything we don't realize or understand about who we are. The shadow, or dark side, is the hidden part of our unconscious, where we store desires, emotions, and characteristics that we prefer not to see. For example, your shadow may contain feelings such as laziness, envy, or anger, or even hobbies and interests that you consider shameful or that you think you should have overcome by now. Because the shadow lives in the unconscious, we often don't even realize it exists. These parts of us have been repressed and forgotten for so long that they no longer appear in our thoughts. Instead, we cling to our persona, which is like a mask we wear, so that other people will accept or admire us. This persona changes depending on the place and the people around us, because it's the role we choose to play in different situations. Perhaps at this very moment, with this explanation, you have reflected on what is in your shadow. Understanding and connecting with your shadow requires effort and dedication. Jung called this shadow work, which means looking inside yourself and recognizing this hidden part. To begin with, you can take some time to reflect on your actions, thoughts, and feelings on a daily basis. A good way to do this is by writing in a journal or practicing meditation. Ask yourself, why did I act this way? Was this really what I wanted to do? Or what was my first reaction in a given situation? How would I feel if I were in the other person's shoes? It's like asking yourself the same questions you would ask someone else. Jung taught us that knowing your shadow doesn't mean becoming or being defined by it. Recognizing that you feel angry, for example, doesn't mean that you are an angry person. Instead, it's important to accept that these feelings are part of you, but not all of who you are. Another way to notice the influence of the shadow is to observe how you judge others. Often, what irritates you most about someone else's behavior may be something you actually fear in yourself. This is called projection. When you realize that you're judging someone or getting angry about something they've done, stop for a moment and ask yourself, have I ever acted like this? Why does this bother me so much? Could this trait be part of my own shadow? Asking these questions helps you understand yourself better and find a balance between what you show the world and what you keep inside. According to Jung, often the things we criticize most in others reflect something we are repressing in ourselves. For example, those who criticize selfishness a lot may be trying to hide their own selfish thoughts, and those who don't tolerate impatience in others may be fighting their own tendency to be impatient. Taking time every day to think about these behaviors, perhaps by writing in a journal or reflecting quietly, is an important step in bringing out these hidden parts and really getting to know yourself better. Making this habit of exploring your shadow part of your routine is fundamental to living in a truer and more meaningful way. Jung said, "I don't want to be just a good person. I want to be a complete person." After learning more about what's in your unconscious and perhaps discovering some dark traits you'd rather not have, you may be asking yourself, how can this really help me improve my life? It's possible that when you start to understand more about yourself, you'll feel even worse. That's because once you realize your bad sides, you can no longer pretend they don't exist. Jung knew that discovering who you really are can be a very difficult and frightening process. Many people think that if they hide the parts of themselves they don't like, these characteristics will simply disappear. For example, someone who holds in their anger can seem like a very kind person, and someone who fights laziness can seem very productive. But it's not like that. Although it's important to want to improve, pretending that these characteristics don't exist won't solve the problem. In fact, hiding your dark traits can make them even stronger. They remain inside you, waiting for the right moment to appear, usually when you are tired, stressed, or going through difficulties. For example, people who don't accept that they are angry are the ones who tend to have angry outbursts from time to time. Similarly, those who try to ignore laziness can end up being so overwhelmed that they suffer from burnout. Pretending something doesn't exist doesn't make it go away. Now that you know your shadow, you can start dealing with it in a different and more conscious way. Everything you find in your shadow can be used to your advantage. For example, anger is not bad in itself. It only becomes a problem when it's exaggerated or out of control. But if someone really hurts you, anger can be a force that helps you protect yourself. The big question you have to ask yourself is, when does it make sense to act on an emotion, and when is it better not to? When is it useful to wear my mask or persona, and when can I be myself without needing them? If you start thinking about your emotions in a more careful way, without simply classifying them as good or bad, you'll be able to improve your life and well-being a lot. For example, envy can inspire you to work harder to achieve what you want. Laziness can be a sign that you need to rest. Impatience, when the time is right, can help you act more quickly. Instead of ignoring what's in your shadow, the ideal is to learn to integrate these aspects into your personality. The shadow is not there to harm you, but to teach you something important. Those traits you try to hide are part of who you are and will always be with you. When you accept them and learn to live with them, you can really grow as a person. Self-knowledge and the ability to use all sides of yourself are fundamental steps to discovering your purpose in life. When your shadow is integrated, you become more complete. You feel more balanced, true, and in harmony with yourself. By learning to deal with your shadow, you discover who you really are, which makes it easier to understand what you want and need from life. Working with the shadow and with self-improvement is an ongoing process. There will always be something that can be improved. And every time you work towards becoming a better person, you are adding more meaning to your life. According to Jung, you are what you do, not what you say you will do. This means that when you know who you really are, understand how to deal with your dark traits, and are clear about what you believe in, you need to demonstrate all of this through your actions. The purpose of life is not something you discover just by thinking, but by acting. Jung believed that self-realization should be reflected in what you do, not just in what you say you're going to do. If you want to be a certain way or achieve something, you need to act on it. Instead of living reactively, just responding to what happens, start taking initiatives. For example, don't wait for people to approach you. Take the initiative and make friends. Don't wait for a promotion at work. Create a plan and work towards it. And above all, don't wait for life to become meaningful on its own. Give your life meaning through your choices and actions. Nowadays, many people live by reacting to what happens around them, without really taking control of their own journey. Even those who work to explore their shadow and improve themselves are only taking the first step. Working on yourself is essential, but not enough. If after dealing with your shadow, You think you've done enough and can relax. You're limiting yourself. Standing still is what locks you into a meaningless life. So how do you start living more actively? The secret is to continually challenge yourself. Once you've explored your shadow and started to improve based on what you've discovered, it's important to take extra steps. Ask yourself frequently, what do I believe in? What are my spiritual or religious beliefs? What are my principles and values? How do I act on a daily basis? What do I want to achieve this year and over the next 5 years? How can I contribute to the world? What do I expect from others? You can write down these questions or reflect on them during moments of meditation. Your answers will be clear clues as to what you need to do. For example, if you want to become an author and publish a book, it's no use just dreaming about it. Many people have this desire, but few take the necessary action to make it a reality. The same goes for any goal. Your steps, not your thoughts, are what define who you are and the life you build. Many people wait for the perfect inspiration or a quieter moment, believing that eventually the book will write itself. They live reactively, thinking that when the right moment comes, everything will flow naturally. But that's not true. If you really want to be an author, you have to change that mindset. A dedicated author writes often, following a routine even when they don't feel inspired. When faced with creative blocks, they seek advice, try new exercises or strategies to keep going. He finishes a story not just because he's motivated, but because he's disciplined. Then they actively take the next step by contacting publishers, literary agents, or professionals in the field. Of course, not everyone finds meaning in career-related goals. Some people have more abstract or personal goals, such as positively influencing the next generations. This can be done in a variety of ways. Being a parent, working as a teacher, setting up an NGO to help young people, acting as a youth counselor, or even getting involved in politics. The most important thing is to decide how you want to achieve this goal and what actions you need to take to do so. Whenever you reflect on your values and beliefs, ask yourself how you can turn them into something practical. It's possible to live reactively, just responding to what happens, but it's impossible to find real meaning in life without taking action. Meaning requires action. Jung said, "Where your fear is, there your task is." People often live reactively, not out of laziness or lack of motivation, but out of fear. Taking action means taking risks, and that can be scary. For example, if you have an idea for a book, you have to face the fear of not liking your own writing in order to start putting it down on paper. Once the book is ready, you have to deal with the fear of rejection when you try to publish it. Every action involves the possibility of something going wrong, which is why it takes courage to be active. Courage doesn't mean not being afraid. Fear should not be ignored, because if it is, it will end up going back into the shadows and will have even more control over your life. Fear needs to be recognized. When you're faced with something you need to do but feel stuck, ask yourself, what could go wrong? How would I deal with it if it did? Fear can often be reduced if you are prepared. However, preparation is not the same thing as getting stuck in anxious thoughts or imagining unlikely scenarios. Focus only on what is actually likely and what you can do to deal with these possibilities. If you want to publish a book, it's important to be prepared for some rejections from literary agents, or even for no one to be interested in representing you at first. But also, be ready to find someone who believes in your work, or even to publish the book yourself. Don't waste time imagining exaggerated scenarios such as endless rejections, someone stealing your idea, or being ridiculed. These thoughts are unlikely and don't help at all. When you analyze what is causing you fear and prepare yourself to deal with it, you are already tackling a good part of it. Fear may never disappear completely, but by doing what you can to minimize it, what's left is to act with courage. Courage doesn't mean eliminating fear, but facing it head-on. No one who has achieved anything important in life has done so by avoiding what frightened them. As Jung said, where your fear is, there lies your next task. What you fear can indicate what will give your life the most meaning. In another quote from Jung, he says, "Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness," explaining that happiness would lose its value if it wasn't balanced by sadness. Let's reflect. If you know yourself, work to improve, act with determination and take risks, does that guarantee a perfect life? No. Nobody has a perfect life. The most influential people in the world have generally faced great challenges because they are the ones who take the most risks. They don't allow themselves to be defeated by the bad times and continue to move forward, regardless of the difficulties. Accepting the bad and disappointing moments in life is essential to finding meaning and purpose. In fact, it is precisely this mixture of good and bad times that brings meaning to life. A life made up only of joys and triumphs would be meaningless, because happiness only has real value when compared to sadness. You can't win without the possibility of losing, just as there can be no light without darkness. Whenever something bad happens, try to see it in a different light. Difficulties and mistakes are learning opportunities. Every time something happens, your reaction can teach you something new about yourself. Difficult moments are essential for self-knowledge and help you to better understand your shadow. For example, no one realizes that they need to be more practical if they have never failed due to a lack of pragmatism. Likewise, no one discovers that they are resilient and strong if they have never experienced a situation that required these qualities. Difficulties are what shape who we are and help us grow. Imagine you wrote a novel and it was rejected by every publisher you sent it to, or that you quit a secure job to go back to school and in the end, things didn't work out as you'd hoped. Of course, these situations can teach you valuable lessons and help you to appreciate more the good things that come your way in the future. But does that in itself give your life more meaning? According to Jung, the meaning of life is not just in achieving your goals, but in the process of acting and discovering yourself. He meant that your life doesn't gain value because you've managed to publish a book or become a successful politician. The meaning lies in what you did to try to get there. Even if you don't achieve the expected result, the important thing is that you took action and made an effort. You become a unique person who is truly who you are. That in itself is something deeply meaningful. Giving meaning to your life is a process that never ends. You will always be getting to know yourself better, setting new goals, and taking action to achieve them. There will be good times and bad, and it's this mixture that makes your life special. What do you do today that brings the most meaning to your life? It could be something small or big. Share it in the comments. It might inspire other people who are looking for more purpose in their daily lives. Your achievements, your failures, your attempts, and your determination are all part of your unique story. So always be proud of the things you've tried, even if they haven't all worked out. It is from this effort that true purpose comes. So appreciate everything good in your life, even if it seems small. Be proud of every victory, no matter how big or small. Be grateful for the things that work out, and above all, remember, your life has a purpose as long as you continue to be the best you can be. However, if you find it difficult to find or even deal with this purpose, it may be that your self-sabotage is hindering this process. To overcome this self-sabotage, click on the video on the screen and see right now how you can defeat it.